Well, let's bring you this now. You stop for a quick takeaway and criminals take your car away. Security firm Fidelity ADT is warning about a new hijacking trend. It says that drivers have sandwiched in and are sandwiched by two cars. Criminals from the vehicle in front of you try to hijack you while those behind you block your car. Now, for more on this, we're just joined now by crime expert Calvin Rafari to tell us about this new trend that is, showing a new hotspot for crime in South Africa. Mr. Rafari, thank you for your time and good morning to you. You're not bringing much good news to us this morning. It seems if I'm at a drive-through with family, with friends, alone, I might just be in a hotspot for hijacking and may not even be aware of it.
Morning. Thanks for the invite. I think the best thing is to expose the modus operandi. And as we had the Commissioner of Police yesterday, he called it new modus operandi coming up, mushrooming up. And one needs to throw it out there and make awareness on how to combat this and also how to expose these particular criminals. But what we have seen in the drive-thrus, it's one of the incidents. I mean, this type of hijacking, it has been happening and ongoing in the drive-thrus of the homes and in some of the estate, and whereby most of the criminals they used to target a person wearing a very expensive watch and snatching a phone, but with a firearm, just smash the window on the drive-thru and take whatever the belongings. But now, because now they take the whole car, but what we can say is the modus operandi of these particular criminals, they use what we call a cell phone military jammer. Now, what it does is it stops the signal of the tracking device once it's activated for the tracking company not to locate the said vehicles. So now it is by way of a quick grab and go, even a car, knowing that even when you can press the panic button or you can report it, the tracking device or even the police on the ground, they can't find the vehicles because of this particular jammer that they're carrying around, and they block the signal of the GPS of the tracking device not to be detected. And that's basically what they do.
I mean, this is also sophisticated, but I just wonder, to keep customers safe, particularly at drive-thrus, is it now the responsibility of, I don't know, fast food outlets with drive-thrus to ensure that there is a security guard or security cameras around, just so that people are safe and are kept, assured that they are safe? What can we do now to keep safe?
Well, I think most of the drive-thrus, they've got cameras. I mean, as you have seen, some of the drive-thrus, what will happen is if you spend a particular time on a drive-thru buying your takeaway, if a certain number of time, there are cameras that are monitoring the drive-thrus. That's why the commissioner, we heard him yesterday say, no, we've seen some of the footage and we are aware and will catch these particular criminals. Now, with for the outlet to have a security, they've got security, not armed even. But even when they are armed, you can't risk to crossfire with exchange fire and shoot at the hijackers. Livelihoods of other innocent people can be in danger to that effect. So I think what needs to happen is people must just be vigilant out there. And if a gun is taken out on you, because this particular people, some of them, they are, I'll call it a hierarchy. And they want to belong in the gangs, so they take over. And some, they are even under the influence of drugs. But what happens is they take out a gun, give them the car, let the police then investigate. And but what we can say is the very same group that are buying, syndicates that are buying these cars, they've been operating for years, and they're even known in the townships and some of the locations where they are coming from.
Yeah. What's your advice then to a driver of that vehicle who might find themselves in that very compromised, dangerous situation?
Well, like I said, if a gun is pointed at you, give them what they want. Do not look at them in the eye. Let them take control. Give them the car. I mean, your life is more important than even the asset itself. Like we've seen 3 days ago in Soweto, a gentleman was trying to save a woman who has been hijacked at the drop-off of the school. And you see what happened. Those criminals, they tend to shoot at the guy. So it is not worth it. If they come to you, give them the vehicle. But what we want to say is the modus operandi. Now, the main question also is, where are these cars taken to? And they are taken across into some of our SADC region, this thing. So the police, they need to up the game, and the SARS officials at the borders, they need to up the game to confiscate and block all the spotters where the cars are taken out of the country for the defect.
But also, even when the perpetrators are found, Mr. Rafadi, does the punishment meet the crime? Is it enough to scare off these criminals not to even get into such crime? Or is it just a pat on the head, a slap on the wrist, where one can get bail or one can be apprehended for a couple of days, and thereafter you let loose and you're going back to committing the same crime?
Yes, like I say, the guys that go out to hijack the cars, to me, they are foot soldiers. There are big syndicates that are sitting behind those people, and they even support this particular foot soldiers in terms of legal fees and finding their way out back in the street. And because you must bear in mind, most cars, when they are taken by order. It's an order that they will say we're looking for such a SUV or a 4x4. So most cars, they don't just take cars randomly. They follow cars which are taken by order. Now the big syndicates are the ones that needs to be looked into, so that we can eradicate this type of crime.
Yeah, because they are the masterminds. That's where the root of the crime emanates from. So that's a good point you're mentioning. But earlier on, you also made a point around, an unfortunate incident where someone was shot at in front of a school premise. And my assumption is you're referring to Faranani Primary School, where 34-year-old Eugene Chiro was shot at in front of children. And that's an unfortunate incident. And I wonder, what do you do then when something like this happens in the full view of children, and you're trying to protect the children, you're trying to also protect somebody else's life? In that incident, as you've mentioned before, what would your advice be then when a hijacking incident happens in full view of children, or at least in front of a school? Do you just walk away? Do you turn the other side? Do you mind your own business?
Look, like I say, if somebody throws a firearm at you, they take full control. So my advice is just, it's not a matter of walking away. You are not being ignorant, but just give them the privilege so that they can feel that they are taking over. You see, when you look at in criminology, when you look at the mind of a criminal, what happens is, they don't want, at the end of the day, when they recap on all the events that they have done, because they do recap, they do go out for a meeting and recap, and one is found to be seen as a weak, that, someone grabbed a gun from your hand, so we don't want you again in the group for the next upcoming events. So they tend to want to also to belong in the group. So they are very heartless. And once they take control, they can shoot randomly without any precautions.
I can believe you when you say they do have a debriefing session. I think Checkpoint also had a conversation with the perpetrator, Mr. Rafadi, and they said, listen, this is a job. Just like you have a job as a criminal expert and investigator, I'm just doing my job. I have somebody that I account to. I have to go back to my boss and account for the events that took place. So indeed, these are heartless criminals that we have to acknowledge. But thank you so much, Calvin Rafadi, for speaking to me this morning.